Okay, so we're going to talk to you about using the new elementary curriculum. It's called 252, but before I get to that, there's just a couple of things that you'll want to know and want me to cover that just is about Ransom Kids in general, and then why we have chosen this new curriculum. So first of all, we're going to be putting in the description a link to our updated team member handbook. It's always good that you stay current on what are our policies, our procedures, what we expect. I mean, there's tips and tricks and things of that nature in there. One of the newest things in there is on what we call the well child policy. If you are greeting kids as they come in and you notice this child does not look like they feel well, knowing that well child policy allows you to have conversations with parents based on what Ransom and Ransom Kids has as their well child policy. So please click on that link, go through it. It's not really that long, but it is great information to help you just help us be better ministers to families. Now, we have chosen what is called orange curriculum. And the reason it is orange is because there are two main ingredients to successful family ministry. And we're labeling one as yellow and one as red. And when you combine them, you get orange. So here's the philosophy behind orange. That we as a church, represented by yellow, we get about 40 hours in a year to work with kids and develop them spiritually, lay foundations for their spiritual maturity. Because, by the time it's summer, there's been vacations, holidays, and things like that. The average attendance of a child nowadays is about 40 Sundays out of 52. But the family, represented by red, has all of these hours. They are like 3,000 hours in a year that they can be educating, developing, having spiritual conversations with their kids. So 40 versus 3,000, that's pretty huge. But if we combine those, which is yellow, red, orange, we have the maximum impact upon kids. So this kind of a format is one of the big reasons why we decided to use orange curriculum, because it will provide us handouts, resources, apps to the parents to say, here's what your child learned in our elementary or our preschool environment, and you can take it home with you. In the car, you can have these discussions based on what they learned when they were under your ministry on a specific Sunday, when you're tucking them in bed, there's activities, all that kind of stuff. It's called a Parent Cue app, and you will see us in this first school year rolling that out to parents. There can be handouts that we will also start rolling out to parents when you do parent pickup, because they provide all of that for us, and it connects to what you're going to be teaching on each Sunday. So that's what that is. Now, orange has two divisions. The first one is called First Look, because it's for those first kids getting some Bible lessons. So toddlers and the preschool use First Look. In elementary, which is us, it's called 252 Kids. And that's significant. 252 is a reference to Luke chapter 2, verse 52, where it says, "And Jesus grew in wisdom and in stature and in favor with both God and man." So as we are looking at these grade school students, that's our model. What Jesus did based on what his earthly parents did, we want us and the parents to do for the kids under our care, hence Luke 2:52 and kids. So now let me go through some of the particulars for all of the elementary, every Sunday, all the time. So our 252 has three basic truths. If you've been here this summer, you've seen a few of them. There's three basic truths. And every Sunday, at least one of those three is going to be woven into the lesson. And we will repeat it all the time, because by the time they leave 5th grade, we want them to be able to recite these from memory. I mean, they are embedded in their soul, and they're biblical. We've kind of creatively reworded them, but they are highly biblical. So I will go through all 3. And our values, our expectations also come from these 3. I'll show you all those connections. The very first one, Jesus says, these are his words, we have called it the golden rule, which says I should treat others the way I want to be treated. And that's the straight words from Jesus. He said, you should treat others the way you want to be treated. If you've been here, you've heard us say, this is not, I'm going to treat others the way they treat me, right? Which is retribution. It's fair. You punch me, I'm going to punch you. Jesus had a completely different rule. It's no matter how you're treated, you treat people the way you want to be treated. So I'll say things like, if somebody comes up and slaps me, my first inclination is slap them back, right? That's just fair. Jesus tells me to live differently. Do I want to be slapped? Absolutely not. I don't ever want to be slapped. Therefore, I should never slap back, even if I get slapped. The second is, I can trust God no matter what. You can see, this is very biblical. No matter what, you can trust God. When you can't see what he's up to, when you don't know the future, you can trust God. He has your best interest at heart. He wants to see you succeed. Jeremiah 29:11, right? I know the plans that I have for you, God says. Plans for success. This is, you can trust God no matter what. The third one is, and this is pretty much the whole book of Proverbs, I need to make the wise choice. I will tell the kids on occasion, there's a difference between making a smart choice, making a legally right choice, but there's also making a wise choice. And that means you have to have God's wisdom embedded in your soul. One of the verses in Proverbs is, how does a young man or young woman keep themselves pure? By storing God's word in their heart. Because if I come up against a temptation like Jesus did, how did Jesus resist Satan's temptation? He quoted the scriptures. So it wasn't a right or a wrong choice. It wasn't a morally or legally right or wrong choice. It was wisdom based on Bible wisdom that helped him make wise choices. And that's one of the values we want to instill in kids. So those 3, one of those 3, and when you dive into the curriculum, you will see which one is highlighted for that Sunday. Always, 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 whether you're a small group leader or with a lesson leader, always, always, always repeat that. And I like to take it and expand upon it. And so you have that levity also as well. Now, next I'm going to cover, as we start this school year, a document that's fluid. We might change it as we go along because we're still new to the curriculum. But Pastor Josiah and I have worked out that this is how we're going to start coming September. All right, so here we go. We are going to say that the first 5 minutes of the gathering hour, so if it's at 8 o'clock, at 8:05, right, check in with kids and all that sort of stuff, ends in the room. You might still have kids coming in, but at 5 minutes in, you're going to be going over the expectations. And I will cover all those in a minute. But 5 minutes in, so if you're at the 8 o'clock, at 8:05, you get all the kids seated and you start reviewing what are the expected behaviors here in elementary. That might take you anywhere from 5 to 8 minutes. Now, let me just say this part right here. We're going to do that until it's no longer necessary. Once we are getting like 99% compliance from the kids, then just we'll change that time completely, and we'll just bullet one or two on occasion as we see they're necessary. It is our wish and desire that we really almost never have to cover any of these expectations. But at the moment, we are going to have to, so I'm going to ask you to do that. I'll show you what all those are in a minute. All right, so that should take you 5 to 8 minutes. After that, we are going to be doing what's called an immersive activity. Now, let me explain what that is, and I will also later explain how you find out where those are in the curriculum. So an immersive activity, you get it, immerse. If you're going to wash dishes, right, you immerse them in the soapy water. We at Ransom, when we baptize, we immerse them in water. I mean, they're just completely enveloped in it. I know sometimes, you'll see a kid doing a video game and you can't get their attention because they are immersed into this fantasy world of a video game. So that's what an immersive is. If we are teaching on faith, then the immersive immerses their mind and their body and their emotions into the concept. I'll give an example of this last Sunday. We were teaching on creation as opposed to evolution. So the immersive was, I had modeling clay. I got 2 adults up here, and they had to, in a certain amount of minutes, take that modeling clay and create an animal, an elephant or a camel. All right. Then I said to the kids when they held up their camel or elephant, does this actually happen if we have billions and billions and billions of years? Does it become an actual elephant that can't fit in this room? I mean, and then I had them follow the verse in Genesis 2, but after God formed man out of the dust of the ground, he breathed life in. So I tried to have them do mouth-to-mouth resuscitation with these modeling clay animals, which of course didn't work. And I'm saying, so see, evolution leaves out that. Where does this whole life, this soul and this spirit come from? Evolution doesn't talk about that. So that's kind of an immersive idea. Some of the games that we do will have their immersive in them. If they have to figure out how to do something as a group, that's called an immersive. And I will show you where that is in the curriculum so you know how to do that. All right, so that should take about 10 minutes. And then the actual teaching time, which includes one of the videos, it's called the So-and-so Show. We'll show you that in a minute. But that's your teaching the lesson along with the curriculum's video that is just fun and creative. It's just another way of looking at the lesson we're learning for that Sunday. Then we want you sending them to their small groups. This school year, not so much in the summer, but this school year, small groups is going to become a priority. At this age, they should be able to do small groups because Ransom is a small group church. Adults are in small groups. Ransom teens are in small groups. Young adults, college and career, they're in small groups. We do recovery groups. So that's where we're going. We're going to be a part of setting that up in the lives of these kids. That as a follower of Jesus, being in a small group of like-minded individuals helps me grow spiritually. Now, our curriculum provides small group time, and I will show you that also as well. But added all of that up. Let's say the teaching time takes 25 minutes. The small group time takes 15 minutes. I mean, you've got about 63 minutes worth of time for really a 60-minute adult service upstairs. So this will be the format starting in this fall. Your feedback to Josiah and myself will be important to know when and how we make adjustments on these time frames moving forward. So now I'm going to go to the expectations and detail those out for you. Again, they're connected to those 3 basic truths. So, treat others the way I want to be treated works itself out when you're here in elementary in these 3 bullets. I use kind words and actions. I'm quiet and patient when it's not my turn, whether it's large group or small group time. And I don't distract others. That's how I treat others the way I want to be treated. And I will say to the kids, I don't want kids saying mean things to me or about me. So the golden rule, treat others the way I want to be treated, means I don't. Even if others do, I don't. I don't want them treating me that way. I don't want them saying things about, all right? So we don't use unkind words or actions here in elementary. I'm quiet when it's not my turn. Again, kids, that's important when it's large group time. If you have a question, please raise your hand. Don't just speak out. Please don't make noise with anything while somebody is teaching or one of the videos. If you're in small group and you're making noise while some child is saying, you know, my parents just got started on a divorce and you're making noise because you think it's funny, that's tragic. And so we want to be quiet. We want to be patient when it's not my turn. If you are in small group and you want to answer one of the questions, that's great, but don't just blurt it out, okay? And then I don't distract others. We're talking about bathroom breaks here. We're talking about go getting water. We're talking about you decide that you want to go and play giant Jenga while we're watching one of the videos. No, because that's distracting. So that's the values, the expectations under that basic truth, I should treat others the way I want to be treated. Next is, right, trusting God no matter what means, so we're taking that basic truth, it means I respect everyone always. If I can trust God to take care of what I need, what I want, all this stuff, I can respect everyone. I can listen to my leaders. I can't trust God if I can't listen to God. I can't trust other leaders that He places over me if I can't listen. And I participate with a good attitude. And again, you know, however you feel you need, you can detail these to the kids. The next value is I need to make the wise choice. So that means I put God first. I'm not here selfishly. I'm not going, I don't want to do that. I don't like to do that, because that's not putting God first. That's putting me first. I think before I speak and act. You probably heard your parents say that. Please, you know, think before you speak. And then there's also James chapter 1, right, that says be quick to listen, slow to speak. Same. I believe the best in others. Sometimes we have kids that love to be tattletales. They like to get somebody else in trouble. That's not making the wise choice. So again, all of these expectations, which are the bullets for those 3, they're detailed in these bullets. And to begin with, let's quickly go through each of those slides. I'll put them back up. Right? Treat others the way I want to be treated. And there's those bullets. Trusting God. I can always trust God. And there's those bullets. And the wise choice. And there's those bullets. Go through those until Josiah and I tell you not to at the beginning, because that's back to that schedule, the expectations, review them. You are given the authority to say which ones you might want to detail out of all 3 of those slides, and we want to get to the point where we don't need to do those at all. Now, roles and responsibilities. And I'm going to break this down between lesson leaders and, if you're a small group leader, a helper in the room. But this video is for everybody that volunteers in elementary. I will do chapter markers in the description, and if you're not a lesson leader, you can just skip to the parts that are for you. So I'll start with the lesson leader, the roles and responsibilities. You are expected to be up front and review expectations. I'm expecting you to know those and do those using the slides. Lead the immersive, and here's where you're going to find it. When you are in the large group materials from the curriculum, and I will show you how to navigate to those on a shared Google Drive. but it is labeled opener. So where I found the modeling clay that talks about taking the dust of the earth and forming versus evolution taking a blob of whatever mass matter and over billions of years it became a living intelligent being, the difference between those and the breathing life into those, that all came from the large group materials, and it was called opener. So when you are preparing, lesson leader, to do the lesson, there's where you're going to find what I call the immersive. They label it opener. But I want to say this. You don't have to do exactly what they say. If you don't like their opener, create your own, right? If you don't like what they are doing as an immersive and you feel like you can come up with a more creative, you go for it. For me, I took that modeling clay one and kind of expanded upon it a lot more because I felt like that was important. So you're allowed to do that. But I do need to say, for Josiah and I to have any supplies that you might need for a Sunday, you have to let us know by Tuesday so we have time to search and research and get what you might need. If you bring your own supplies, that works as well. If you need slides for your immersive that's not provided by the curriculum, by Tuesday before Sunday, you let Josiah and I know, and we will have those in your presentation. And again, where all these files are stored, we are 2 months out. So I'm going to send you a link in the description to where those files are, and you will see that we have September and October all ready for you to start studying and learning and preparing. So there you go. It'll all be right there. And so we're asking you to lead that immersive, and we ask you to lead as communicator of the lesson. So you're going to bring in the so-and-so show, full of it, all of it, or part of it, right? You're going to have your own way of telling the Bible story and the lesson. So you're going to be doing that as a part of that 20 to 25 minute lesson time. Now, for you that are helpers or small group leaders, here's how you prepare for a Sunday so that you and the lesson leader are all synced together. You know what's going on and what's happening. So we're going to ask that during that check-in time, you're interacting and playing with the kids during that check-in time. Don't sit in a chair. Don't stand off in a corner. Start building relationships. Play with those kids. I love seeing some of you already getting into the Gaga pit, or you're in one of the garages playing checkers or Jenga. You're building rapport, you're building relationship. We don't want you to assist kids with the immersive. Some immersives will just be a couple of people up front. Some will be, all skate. Everybody is involved in an immersive. I've seen one where everybody was making paper airplanes, and so you're going to be needing to help kids make and fold paper airplanes, that kind of a thing. So assist kids with the immersive, okay? Sit among the kids during the lesson to reinforce those expectations. Please don't sit along the back row or along the sides. Place yourself strategically. I love it when I've seen some of you realize one child is having a hard time living the expectations, and that leader goes and sits right next to. I've seen sometimes where one of the leaders, they see maybe siblings sitting together and they're fighting, and they'll just go and they'll sit between them. Yes. Do that. You are authorized to do that. That's what we want you to do. Now, when it gets to small groups, we're going to ask you to lead the small group discussion questions. Most of the time, they will be up here on the screen so you can see them. And then when it's pickup time, help at pickup time to confirm the security codes and the parent pickup tags. Some of these gatherings can get rather large in the number of kids. So when a name is called out, if you're at the Gaga pit, it's hard for them to hear over the blower of the Gaga pit. But if you hear it and you go, hey, Caleb, I heard your name called. You need to go. Or if you're helping with the parent pickup over at our pickup station, you're taking the security code on the child's name tag and you're confirming that with the parent pickup tag. A child has to match the tag that the parent has or they don't go. Those kinds of things. Help out any way that needs to be at parent pickup. Now, helper, small group leader. How are you going to prepare? You don't want to come in, I don't know what we're doing today. I don't know. You already know what the expectations are, whether they're 100% covered or not. But you know what they are, so you can help enforce those. But this Google Drive that you'll see a link to in the description has in there week 1. If it's coming up September, it'll say week 1. You go into that week 1, and there's a thing called the So-and-So Show. Well, watch it, because Kellen in the So-and-So Show is going to give a creative retelling of the story, of the lesson, so you're aware of it. But you can also go into what's called Story Lab, where our curriculum providers are actually teaching the lesson that our large group communicators are able to access, so that you know the lesson and how it is going to be taught. So you can watch that as well, and you know what's coming up. You can see it, you've understood it. The last thing I would say is pray, and pray some more. Please, during the week, pray that God invades, that the Holy Spirit is present, that you know how to sense what the Holy Spirit is asking you and leading you to do. Pray, and pray, so that these kids are getting spiritual nourishment and development when they're here with us, with you. Now, for you, the lesson leader, how are you going to prepare? So here's how you're going to prepare. You're going to go through what's called the Large Group K5 Plus PDF. And you go into September, week 1, and you will see, right, it's a large group PDF plus doc, and it'll be labeled W1, W2, W3, W4, which is their way of saying week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and for those week 5 months, it'll be in there as well. And so you're going to look for what's labeled opener, and in there you will find their ideas for that immersive, as I call it, right? And then you springboard off of it for your immersive. You don't have to do it exactly as they say. You don't even have to do what they say. They're giving their creative way of doing an immersive. If that springboards in your head to something you think is going to be better, have more impact, is going to immerse them in, you go for it. Josiah and I just need that Tuesday before Sunday if you're going to have unique slides for it, if you're going to need unique supplies for it, so that we have that for you. So by Tuesday, please, please, please. Next, you're going to go through the Bible story, and you will see it in this large group K5 Plus. Go through the Bible story and springboard off of it for how you want to teach the lesson. Again, you can also look at what's called Story Lab, because that's them teaching it. This K5 Plus is just a script of what Story Lab does. And I take that script and I make my notes on it for, I would tell it this way, or I think I might add this Bible verse because I think it's better than the ones they're using. You have that option as well. But you go through the story and you springboard off of it for how you want to teach. Me personally, I am a storyteller, so I will read the Bible story and I'll think through, when I was these kids' age, or maybe my kids at that age, did they wrestle with this same Bible concept? And so I'll tell a story. So like this last week, the idea, the bottom line was that God is creative, so he's given us the ability to have creative solutions to problems. So I shared a story about a Christmas when we didn't have money for presents and gifts, and so we creatively took stuff we had, so we didn't buy anything, and handmade gifts for everyone. And all of my siblings, all these years later, that's our favorite Christmas to talk about, because everybody had to be creative with what we had to come up with great Christmas gifts. So I will insert that story. Sometimes I will insert a story like that and put pictures up, because pictures are worth 1,000 words. But again, I would get those to Josiah on Tuesday before Sunday, so they are in the presentation for me. So you go through and you create your lesson. Again, you have a limited time. And then you also go through the small group question starter. It's called Small Group K5 Starter, and then it'll be week whatever. And pick from all of the options. They give multiple small group options. Which questions best fit with how you will teach the lesson? So I'll look through them all, and I'll pick one from this option, two from that option, maybe one from that option. Sometimes I will take one of their questions and go, I'm going to change the wording just slightly since I told a personal story. So again, an example from last Sunday, I shared about the worst to the best Christmas ever. So I asked them the question, do you have a best Christmas ever story to share with your group? Do you have a worst Christmas ever to share with your group? So that was kind of the opening icebreaker in their small group. Wasn't really in the curriculum, but it fit how I taught, so I plopped it in there. I got it to Josiah on Tuesday so that it was part of the slides on Sunday. So those are the things that you are going to be responsible for. Now, how do you get all this stuff? Again, in the description below is a link to a Google Drive. It's a shared Google Drive. You click on the month that you're going to be preparing for, and then in the week, and I will have screenshots of that to give you some more details. But you go and you watch Story Lab for the week you're teaching. So if you're teaching week 2, you go into week 2 folder and watch Story Lab week 2. Because that is them teaching it to their church, and the printout, the PDF, is a script of that person in Story Lab. Watch the so-and-so show so that you see how it's kind of being creatively approached from a different angle, the story and the bottom line. Decide which expectations you're going to cover if it's needed, and then please, again, pray, and pray some more. Be prayed up. Pray that the Holy Spirit inspires you as you create all of these things, and it comes in and it fills you and overflows you as you're actually teaching. All right, so now for all of you, here is this Google Drive. Whether you're a helper small group leader or you're a lesson leader, it all is in this drive. So it's going to be called Ransom Kids Team Member Access Google Drive. And in there, we have our 3 teaching environments: early childhood, elementary, and toddlers. For you guys, you're going to drill into the elementary folder. And in that folder, so you're going to see already October and September. And as soon as November comes to us, we'll pull that in there as well. So it's just going to update in real time for you as we get these in. So for this example, we're going to go into September. And when you get in September, there's a ton of files. I know this is hard to see, but you'll see it. There's a ton of files in here. And let me just spend some time going through some of these things. In here, there's this one called a Preview Video Friendship MP4. This is for everybody, whether you're a small group leader, a helper, or a small group or a lesson leader. This is where they're saying the theme for this month is friendship, having biblical friendships. And so they're going to preview, they're going to give you an overview of that whole month in a very short video. And then there's 3 other files in here that's going to give you that bird's eye view. It's called 252 Kids, Luke 252 Kids, 4 leaders only. And it's going to kind of start breaking down every week, the bottom line for every week, the Bible story for every week, the Bible, the scripture reference. There's that monthly overview, which is very, very similar, just goes at it from a different angle. And this file here, the Kids Scope and Cycle, that is a year at a glance so that you can see what's going to be happening in September, what's going to be the lessons in October, what's going to be the theme in November, what's going to be the theme in December. So it takes a whole school year and it lets you look at a glance what's going to be kind of the big picture for each and every month. Now, some of these other files that are just going to be huge for whether you're a lesson leader or a helper, you're going to say it again, is kind of the worship song, Dear God, Discovery, Haggis, Live Loud, and One Thing. These are all what's called the pre-service videos. So every week there will be one of these during that check-in time so that the kids who don't really want to play games can sit quietly in their chairs, one of our expectations, and they'll get to watch something that changes every week of the month. You are welcome to watch these so that you just kind of see what they are. Is they're what's going to be taught for the month, just from a creatively different angle. Think like the spokes on a wheel. The hub is the theme of the month. All of these things are, right, the spokes on the wheel, because they're helping to support that theme just from a different angle. So, you feel free to get in there and watch those. They are not a part of the lesson for a Sunday. They're a part of the learning for the month. All right, so now let's drill in to things like the K5 plus images on a screen. Lesson leaders, that's where you're going to find all of the graphics that our curriculum provides for you to teach your lesson. So if you drill into there, you'll see the ones for week 1, the ones for week 2, the ones for week 4. So you can look at them for, are you going to use them when you do the lesson? In that printout, that PDF, there will be cues for how they used those images and where in the teaching they used those images. Again, that's just suggestion for how you want to use them. If you have a better image for how you're teaching the story, get those to us on, thank you, Tuesday, and we'll have them in. And then you'll see, because September has 4 Sundays, it's week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. So those are the files specific to the lessons for each one of those. I'll give you a sample of how we drill into those. So we go into week 1, and here it is. Here's the large group K5 plus PDF. So for you that are leading the lesson, that's that script of Story Lab. This is the script of Story Lab. Here's the so-and-so show for that week. So it's another creative retelling of the Bible story. Here is the K5 starter. This is the small group. SG stands for small group. LG stands for large group. That's where you're going to find your small group questions so that you can get those together. And then this facilitator Word doc, this is the same as the PDF, but it's in a Microsoft Word doc, which if this works for you, I do this. I drill into this one, and I cut and paste. I delete parts that I'm not gonna, or I'll copy and move and create the lesson for how I'm gonna teach it. And then I like script when I am rehearsing on Sunday mornings before I come to church, because now I've got it in a Word doc the way I'm gonna teach it, And so I would encourage you now to drill into one and see what it does and how it works. But this means now you have this PDF in an editable Word doc. I love that. Some where I've been, they will do this. They'll edit that Word doc to how they're going to teach, have their visual cues in there for where they're going to use them, and they'll just send that to Pastor Josiah and myself, and we can take that and turn it into your on-screen presentation. So that every week we'll have these files. They just will change. The so-and-so changes every week. The Story Lab changes every week. So therefore, the large group scripts change every week, and the small group changes every week. I hope all of that makes a lot of sense. Let me just say, if you have troubles navigating this Google Drive, please reach out to Josiah or myself. If you have questions on how to use any of this stuff, if you would like to sit down and have us just kind of talk you through, please contact us. We are here to make you successful, to help you be successful. But I can say there is a live demonstration of them, our curriculum writers, using it in their church context, and it's called Story Lab. So you can print off the facilitator Word doc and watch Story Lab, and you will see them almost word for word and popping up on screens exactly how they taught September week 1's Bible story. And so, it's a great way to familiarize yourself, get rehearsed. For those of you that are small group leaders and helpers, even though it might be looking different on a Sunday morning here at Ransom, it's going to be very close. You will come knowing, really deeply knowing, what the story is going to be, what the theme, we call it bottom line, is going to be for that week, what the theme for the month is going to be for that week. You're going to have a great grasp, and you're just going to have a greater ministry alongside the lesson leaders and the other small group leaders. We love you guys. We're here to make you successful. Ephesians 4:12 tells Pastor Josiah and I that we are to equip you, the saints, to do the work of the ministry. That's our role, and we are going to take that seriously. We love you. Can't wait to see what God does this fall and this spring, this school year. Thank you.